Yeah. Yeah. You feeling ready?
Let's do it. Yes.
Good. Okay. Well, I'll go live.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just check that we're coming up on my Facebook page. I'm recording at the same time, so if it all fails, it'll be fine. Yeah, so it's working. Great. Fantastic. It's the first time I've done it this way. I'm usually using webinar. So hi, everybody. Firstly, I want to introduce you to the beautiful Carlie Maree. She is magnificent in all the fields that she works in. And I have had the pleasure and the joy of working with her for the last 6, nearly 7 weeks now. And we thought we would come and have a chat with you about gaps, gut healing, and all the things around it. And Carlie would share what her experience has been, why she wanted to jump into it and take this action, and the inevitable outcomes of taking the action. So hi Carlie, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
I'm super excited to have you here. So the first thing I would love to ask you, of course, is what led you to get to that point of going, I'm ready, it's time, I need to deal with this?
Yeah. So I am an author. I've got a couple little kids. I run a business from home. My partner runs a business as well. We have a full life. Looking after my body is very, very important to me. I've been on a bit of a journey with that for maybe, 10 years or so of going like, oh, hey, yeah, I'd better start looking after my body, start eating a little bit better. It started because I was getting married and I wanted to lose some weight. So I started paying a bit more attention to how I was looking after myself. And through that realized what a difference it makes to my mental state to look after my body. At the time I was on and off antidepressants and, experiencing anxiety at times and things like that. And in the lead up to my wedding, when I gave up bread and a whole bunch of crap that I was just eating all the time, I felt so much better. I wasn't achy, I wasn't headachy, I wasn't miserable. And so that's when I started to go like, oh, this is a thing. I started seeing a naturopath at the time, so I wanted to have babies and wanted to make sure my body was tip top. And throughout that process, found out that I've got a genetic thing. It's not a major thing. It's treated with a particular type of vitamin B and being a little bit careful with my diet. But what had happened was I realized that over a lifetime of eating a bunch of stuff that my body didn't particularly like and didn't thrive on, that my gut had like some damage. I saw a naturopath just before I started working with you, before we'd met.
Yeah.
Like the naturopath at the end of the road sort of thing. And I found out that I had some gut health issues. I didn't know that was a thing, but my gut health wasn't great, which was resulting in a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I kind of like, it was on my radar. And every now and again I go, oh, I'll drink some kombucha and I'll have some sauerkraut and I'll take a probiotic and I'll sort that out. And then more recently I saw a naturopath again and it checked it out and my gut health still wasn't great. And she said, this is leaky gut. And I went, okay, I want to get serious about this. And I reached out to you because I knew this was a real area for you that you'd done a lot of work in. And I said, it's time for me to really sort out my gut health, like actually do something about this, not just throw in a probiotic now and again and go, oh, that'll fix it. But actually really like go back to the drawing board. And I knew that, I run a really thriving business. I do a lot. I have a full life. And I just knew that for me to go to the next level in my life, in my business and everything, that gut health was going to be a factor.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that I feel like a superhuman. My intuitive downloads for the spiritual people amongst us, blown wide open. Like it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I loved what you're saying there. In order to go to the next level, gut health is going to have to be an important thing because, to be in that space of doing all the things that we want to be doing, being who we are to our partners, our children, and who we are to our friends and ourselves and our business and all that sort of stuff, you can't have health be the thing that kind of bogs you down, making you tired, making you feel like you're just not being able to function and show up how you want to show up. So that's an important factor for a lot of my clients, that they're just, I'm so done with what's currently happening. I'm ready for something different.
Yeah. I say to my clients, like, you can't expect to be superhuman if you're munching on kryptonite all day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of
I'm not following my dreams when you're using tiredness as an excuse, but then you're eating all the stuff that's making you tired all day. So like.
Exactly. And it's interesting that actually when you go on a, you know, a journey like this, that you actually start to realize how you were sometimes using food to escape from your life, as opposed to going, oh, why don't I just fix what's wrong with my life or that I'm not enjoying in my life? Why don't I just fix that instead of sabotaging myself in another way?
Yeah. I didn't realize it, and this is why it's been so good to do the actual mentoring and coaching with you as I've been going along. I'm not sure I would have been able to do it had I not, like, I jumped in a package with you that includes support from you every day. Basically, I can message you and be like, hey, what do you think of this or whatever? And it's so helpful because in those times where I'm like, today it feels hard, and you'll be like, okay, talk to me about it, kind of thing. And I'll realize things like I use going to the kitchen to get a snack or make a cup of tea to distract myself from the fact that I don't want to parent right now, that my kids are being like challenging, or I can't be bothered sitting there playing blocks with them. So I'm going to the kitchen to eat when I'm not actually hungry. It's just something else to do. Oh, I've got to go to the kitchen. And it was really amazing. And it feels really vulnerable to admit that, but that was a really interesting thing to learn about myself, is that was something I was doing. That I'm like, okay, so that's something I can look at, you know. So it's been a huge personal development, expansive exercise as well, not just physically.
Yeah. And I find that for myself as well. You know, it's just that moment of going, oh, I've been letting food kind of control me in some ways, or I've been using food as an excuse to get out of making decisions and being responsible and deciding what I want, instead of, you know, I'm deciding without deciding. Yeah. And one of the other things you just said there was being able to contact me every day. And I think that is the thing that I like the most in the sense of working with people, because what I was finding when people were just having, say, one session at a time, and they might have a couple of weeks or even a month in between, was that they'd start off really great, and then somewhere in the middle something would happen and they wouldn't book in for their next session. And by the time they got to that appointment, it was all over Red Rover.
Yep. Because it's like, it's challenging. It's doing life differently. Like if you're eating on a GAPS protocol and GAPS introduction diet and all of that stuff that you teach and that you've guided me through, it's not a normal way based on what society does. It's not how we're taught, but it's incredible what happens in your body when you stop putting stuff in that it doesn't want and you go right back to basics. And then your body, like, it's amazing how it just starts naturally detox.
Yeah.
I felt like emotional detoxing happened. Like it felt like there were emotions that were being stored in my body that my body could actually now start to release, because I wasn't stuffing it down with food and all these things. It's quite amazing, but it's new habits. It is a challenge. And that's why I'm so glad that I've had you there, because just to base on willpower, no.
Yeah.
Nope. You've got to have someone there who's like literally like reminding you why you're doing this, reminding you. It hasn't been as hard as what I thought it might be, but there have been moments, you know, the different parts of my menstrual cycle and things where I'm just like, oh, it's feeling hard, but only fleeting moments. And I work with you on it and you help me shift it, and I'm back onto my broth and my, you know, and it was a big challenge for me as well, because I was pretty much vegetarian before, and this protocol, like, it includes broths and stuff. So I've had to really, you know, I had to go and find the happy cow farms and do it in a way that felt really ethical to me. And you have been so respectful of that. And you like pretty much like in agreement, you're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, yes, do that. And so it's been really nice to have that support from you there, that to work within my values, my ethics, what feels good to me. And yeah.
And I think that that's a really important element, is recognizing that it's not just a diet per se. It's actually a whole lifestyle thing. So it is, you know, ideally all of those foods, like, you know, when you're consuming meat, that you're actually eating it from animals that have been treated well, that have been fed well, that have been nourished well themselves, in order to be able to pass over those nutrients to you. And, you know, get in alignment. Like I see it as actually, you know, the more you dig into it, the more actually you're moving into the sustainability and, you know, creating the things and the changes that we really want to be seeing in our world, as opposed to the factory farming and, you know, all of that type of stuff that actually, you know, it doesn't feel good for the animals. How's it going to feel good for us? And moving over into that. And it's a big change. Like for a lot of my clients, it is, you know, they haven't necessarily very slowly petered into it. They're like, nope, I'm done. Let's do this. And it's night and day. Okay, tomorrow all you get to eat is like meat and vegetables and broth and some salt and pepper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what was that experience?
Pepper for me, because we did this hair test thing where you're like, okay, we're going to work out which foods your body is reacting to, your body doesn't like, and there were some bizarre things on there I was surprised about, like pepper. So not even pepper for me, apparently. Which is fine, which is great. That's why I feel as good as I do, right? Because there was a whole bunch of kryptonite in there, you know.
Yeah. How have you found it in lockdown?
Oh, thank God I did it in lockdown. It would have been harder otherwise if we were out and about, like trying to go out to dinner and eat on this early part of it where you really stripped it right back to basics. I think would be really challenging to do. So we had our anniversary and I wanted to indulge, so we just ordered some seafood and stuff, and I was managed to pretty closely stick to it. But it was great. You were able to help me through, okay, if we're going to indulge, we're going to do this and this to make sure you can process it and detox it and whatever. So it was really cool. But I'm so glad I did it in lockdown. Like, it would have been much harder because I'm at home. Like on a Sunday, we make a whole bunch of broth and meals for the week. And I'm not out having to, if you're out and you an hour from home and you have to eat something, like I can't just whip up a stew, and because you're off for a little while. So it's not like I could just grab an apple. I couldn't even do that. So it does take being prepared. So this is the perfect time to do it. Like, I know a lot of people I've sent to you to do this. I'm like, do it now because it's never going to be easier.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest challenges for a lot of families that are doing GAPS. So they might not just be having one person do it, their whole family might do it. And then it becomes really challenging with things like school lunch boxes and how to figure out all that sort of stuff. And then the emotional guilt of feeling like they're torturing their children. It's this whole big thing. So it's now when, like, particularly Melbourne, of course, because you guys are still in lockdown, whereas other states are now opening back up and, things are happening a bit more freely. Now is the time, and this is the year, I think, actually, that a lot of people have gone, oh, yeah, I can't do this anymore. It's time to change. It's time to do something different.
Yeah, it is amazing.
So I want to ask,
that is linked to mental health. Like, I know mental health has been a big challenge for people through all of this. And I'm like, I think I've coped as well as I have because of this, because it's had such an effect on my mental state.
Yeah, and I think too, it's that focus of moving towards what you want versus moving just away from what you don't want. Like, and it's given this sort of bigger window of opportunity for that to happen more succinctly. Whereas, a lot of my clients, they'll message me and they'll want to start GAPS at Christmas, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like the worst time to try and do it. Like, imagine sitting down to Christmas dinner and all you've got is soup. There's no treats or anything like that. It's yes. Yeah. And they pick that time because it's school holidays and they think, yep, we've got a really great time, but nobody wants to be eating soup and stews in the middle of hot summer.
Yes, we did it in winter too. Like, yeah, do it now. Anyone who's thinking about it, do it now. Do not put it off, because you are eating like hot food. But I miss salad. I'm so looking forward to a salad. And by the time I'm doing salads again, the weather will be getting warmer and it'll be perfect. So yeah.
It'll fully align. So the question that I want to ask is, what has been the hardest thing for you?
I've had a lot to celebrate lately. My business has been going really well. I've hit a lot of milestones and I've wanted to have a champagne. That's probably been one of the hardest things. And there's been a couple of times where I've like, it hasn't been as hard as I thought. Like, I've been like, oh, I'd love an ice cream. But it's like, but also I'm fine without it because I'm thinking about what it's doing to my body and stuff like that. What's been the hardest part? Yeah, probably that, like the wanting to indulge. I've had to learn to think of celebrating differently. I didn't realize how much I linked celebration and like indulgence and fun with food and drinking. So I haven't been drinking, right? So it's made me really look at what are some other more healthy ways that I can celebrate stuff, because I'm hitting all these milestones in my business. Everything's going so well in many ways. And I'm like, what do? We can't go out to dinner. We can't go out drinking. We can't even have like it's been that's probably been the trickiest thing, which has actually been it's been really good growth for me, you know. So I might have indulged in a few purchases.
And I think that I love it. I love it. But that's also that moving into that next level of you, like, how do I celebrate in a way that's actually not sabotaging my health, my body, my business, and my relationships and all of those other things.
Yes.
And it's one of the things I've been.
And the other way as well, when you've had a crap day and it's like, oh, a glass of wine or something, like that'd be good. And I'm like, oh, isn't it funny that I'm looking for that? And I'm not looking for it for the right reasons. I'm looking for it to numb something. So it's made me look at stuff and process stuff rather than having a drink to switch off at the end of the day. You know, like I should be able to just switch off, right? Like maybe there's other ways I can switch off. Maybe I don't need to have a drink to do that. And like I wouldn't, you know, I'm not I never was a big drinker, but it's funny that the triggers that it's like, oh, I'll have a drink because of that, you know?
Yeah.
So
the same as chocolate.
Yes, exactly. So I've had a couple of menstrual cycles come and go since then. And it's like, I got through it without any chocolate or whatever. I'm looking forward to being able to have it. One of the things I've noticed is like when I've, you know, gotten my kids something and like I've, you know, mindlessly licked my finger and it's had honey or something sweet on it. It's like, oh my God, that's so sweet. Like it really, your tastes change. Now I have pumpkin and I'm like, this is like ice cream, you know, like I will roast some pumpkin as a treat because it's so sweet. It's amazing. It just changes.
Yeah. So we've looked at the challenging thing. What has been the easiest thing that you didn't necessarily expect?
I didn't expect how much my beautiful man would step up and support me in this. Like when I told him it was happening, I showed him the list of what I can't have and I explained it to him. And he like did the shopping and cooked. And, you know, I think a lot of people think, oh, husband will carry on and it'll be too hard and la, la, la. Like I didn't expect him to carry on about it necessarily. But what I didn't expect was he was like, let me provide this for you almost. I know that not everyone's husband is going to do that, right? But I've really loved how he's the better cook in the house. And he's thrived in being creative with limited ingredients. And it's almost felt like this fun challenge for him, I think, and a really nice way for him to provide for me. So I felt beautifully taken care of. So that's been a nice surprise. But yeah, it's been easier than I thought in terms of missing foods. And I think it's made me more grateful about food. Like I'm so excited to crunch into an apple at some point. Like you just take this for granted. We just mindlessly reach for food and think nothing of it. Because I'm living on soups and stews and whatever. It's all soft and it's all warm. And when you said, oh, Carlie, you can have figs, I was like, figs! I get to have figs! Like, it was so exciting. And now I'm like, I'm going to have a fig. You know, like it brings joy into your life. It's bizarre how it works.
It's so funny. I remember for us, the first time around when we did it, it was like 8 months before we finally got into fruit. And, you know, we just had these cherries. We brought cherries and it was like, oh my God, this is so sweet. I can't imagine how sweet this is. And, you know, remembering back to the moments of having cherries and grapes and things like that before and going, oh, it's not sweet enough.
Yeah.
And wow, actually, yeah, now I'm really actually tasting the flavor of the actual food as opposed to what was happening before, which was this, you know, it was bland because it all just tasted the same because my taste buds weren't responsive and weren't receptive to the nourishment and the nutrition that was coming in because there was lots of other crap in there as well.
Yep.
So next question for me is, what are some of the unexpected side effects that you've had?
Probably the intuitive expansion. So a lot of my work is very intuitive and I've found that my content, my social media content is better. Like I'm having better ideas of things I want to launch. My income has doubled. I know, weird, right? That's probably been the biggest thing. My skin, I feel like my skin is really like kind of nice. The unexpected thing was, yeah, probably just feeling better in my body. It's actually tricky to put a finger on what's changed, but I just feel better in my body, a bit happier. I've been a bit tired the last couple of days, just in where I think it's where I'm at my menstrual cycle and I've been getting up super early and staying up super late. So I think it's probably made me more in tune with like, I'm feeling tired and it's unlikely to be food related. maybe I need more sleep. Like, it's made me be a bit more aware of what's happening in and for my body. Like, I'm very in tune, like, I'm going to go to bed early tonight because I'm feeling a little bit tired. Whereas in the past, it would have been just like, that's life, get on with it, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that probably,
have you,
it is to drink a lot of water. I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's hard drinking water. I always forget. Like, no, I just have this has just gone empty. I need to go fill it again. But it's not that hard. Get a bottle you like and just carry it. Especially if you're in lockdown in COVID, you're not going anywhere. Just have a water bottle with you. There's no excuse not to. Just do it.
I love also that your water bottle says chilled on it.
It's chilled. Yeah. Reminds me to chill.
Yeah. So one of the things that a lot of people come across is the resistance from family, friends, etc. when they start to go on a healing journey for themselves. Have you found any of that?
Not really, because we're in proper lockdown here. So my kids are eating pretty much normal. I'm like, I want to sort it out for me first. I would actually love to do it as a family. Darren's semi going along with me because it's what's in the house, and he's taking some of my supplements and he's like, I feel great. Not that there's a lot of supplements involved, but some probiotics and some magnesium and stuff, which, I was getting a bit of pain in my back and stuff. So the magnesium's helping. So all of that, but not really. My mum came over and she's like, oh my God, you look amazing. Because I didn't mention that I've dropped a heap of weight. My stomach is flat. I've had 2 babies. I've had a Caesar and I have a flat stomach. Like, I literally didn't believe that was possible after you'd had children, particularly if you'd had a Caesar. I'm like, no, that doesn't happen. But when you take all the bloating away, it's amazing the difference it makes, right? So my mum was like,
Yeah.
What are you eating? What's going on? She's like, sign me up. Because it hadn't been that long since she's seen me. In lockdown, I'm not seeing her much, but it hadn't been that long. And she's like, she actually said to me, don't lose any more. Like, cause I was losing it quite quickly. And I'm like, Mum, I'm eating heaps. And Darren's like, she is. It's just that my body wasn't holding on to all this air and whatever that it was holding on to. That it's just, this is what my actual body looks like when it's not unhappy. Amazing.
Yeah. And I love that because it does it for both ends of the spectrum. Like, I have clients who come and they're actually quite underweight and they're like, I'm trying everything to put on weight. And when we finally get their nutrition right, then they actually start gaining and they get to that place where they're actually really healthy. And if they get sick, they're not afraid that something terrible is going to happen because they've got a healthy weight around them, and vice versa. Those who are, overweight, they generally tend to slim down. And, if they've got excess fluid, like that tends to be the biggest thing, and bloating and air. Water and air tend to be the biggest things that need to be released, and they're being held on to by the body. And when you give it what it needs, it doesn't need to hold on to those anymore. And I think that that's, a beautiful thing that happens on both ends of the spectrum, that you just find you.
Yes, that's what it feels like. It's like, this is what I look like. I'm not exercising heaps. I'm going for walks and stuff, mainly for mental health and anything else. And I'm doing some stretches and a little bit of yoga, but people are like, oh my God, you've been working out. I'm like, no, I'm just eating what my body likes, what my body's thriving on. And of course, we're introducing things one by one. So there's plenty of healthy things that I'm not eating. But as you said, I'm eating for hunger. I'm eating because I feel like it's time to eat again. I'm not, going, oh, I'm starving. When can I eat? Like, no, I'm totally just listening to my body. But just means having something there that I can eat. That's the tricky bit, because you've got to cook a big batch and, be prepared.
You've got to have something around ready to eat. Like, it's not I need something to eat. It'll take me 2 seconds to make something, like grab an apple or a carrot. You can't grab those things at this point. Eventually you will be able to grab those things, but it is, that slow progression of eating foods that your body can assimilate, building the body, rebuilding the gut, to then being able to consume those foods that are more challenging for the gut to be able to break down. But it can do that really well when it's healthy and it's functioning and it's got the right microflora all flowing around in it. And I think that that's another important point.
I thought it'd be like you go on a raw diet and you're like, nah, we're cooking everything within an inch of its life, because I guess I've got to rebuild my gut, because a healthy gut can process raw foods. But at least
absolutely,
that surprised me.
And I think that that's an important conversation that I generally will have with my clients as well, is it's not that apples are bad. It's not that raw carrots are bad. It's about the condition of the environment of your gut at this point and what it's capable of doing readily. And as you heal that, it gets stronger and it gets better and it can do those other tasks more effectively.
Yep. Amazing. Yeah. It's been really interesting messaging someone often about what's happening with my bowels. Like sometimes I send you a message and I'm like, I sent that to the right person, right? Like,
oh my gosh, I've totally got a story around that. So clients will often send me a photo of their poo, like especially if we're doing a parasite cleanse, and we haven't done that with you yet, but you know, if they're doing a parasite cleanse, they might take a photo and they share that photo with me. And accidentally one time, one of my clients had the wrong phone number. They just randomly shared a photo of their poo with some stranger.
Hi, here you go. Have a nice day. Yeah, that could, I can see how that could happen. That could easily happen. Yes. Well, they didn't
reply. Thankfully, nobody replied to them. But yeah.
It is. We have built quite the intimate relationship throughout this process. There is not much. There are things you know about me that my partner does not. So very interesting. So you definitely want to do this process with someone who you trust, someone you feel connected to. So I was like, "Yep, Christina, let's go."
Yeah, and you know, it's the daily poo check. What's happening? It's really telling us what's going on in your gut. Like it tells us, you know, you're putting stuff in the top end. How's it coming out at the other end? That's telling us what's happening in here. And so I think people tend to have been told to be shy about the bathroom toilet stuff, but you know, come on, let's bring it on, because that's where all the amazing stuff happens.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. I do not envy your job, but also I see how incredibly powerful it is in people's lives. So I imagine it would be very rewarding.
Although I do geek out a little bit about this stuff. You know, I've had lots of photos of parasites that have come my way, and they go in my little album of parasites and all the fun things, because it, you know, it's my geek out zone. You know, somebody's got to have it as a geek out zone.
It's amazing.
But I often think it would be hilarious if I got arrested and the police took my phone, because it would be full of eyeballs and what comes out in the toilet bowl.
Yeah, it would. It looks like some kind of sicko murderer.
I know.
Oh dear. Well, it's impactful. It's making such a difference in my life and for my family, just because I'm happier. And that's a beautiful gift for the people around you. So investing the time and the money and the effort and the headspace in this is a no-brainer for me. It's paid off many times over already.
Yeah. So is there any last thing that you'd like to share with anyone before we start saying goodbye?
Yeah, just like you're worth it. Like it'll be worth it and you're worth it, because I think that as humans, we forget how good we're designed to feel. And I think that there's this overall acceptance of like, you sort of feel a bit crap and that's life, and you deal with it and you get on with it. And I think that human bodies were built to feel great and to feel a lot of pleasure and a lot of like flow moving through the body energetically and physically. And how closely linked our physical and mental health are. Like our brain is a physical organ, right? Like it's, you know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and then we have this energy body as well. And I love how when I, you know, start rambling on about spiritual things, you're like, yeah, I totally get it. All of that's totally a factor for sure. You know, like that you have this beautiful approach, like, I don't know, I suppose scientific approach. And there's so much that you know about the body. It's mind blowing. And also you're so open to all of the energetic piece as well. And I just feel like I'm benefiting on every level, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, which is flowing out in every area of my life. So if you like, oh, I'm tired and I'm headachy and everything hurts and I'm a bit sad most of the time and all of that, it's not just life. That's not just life. We don't have to just accept that. And yeah, it's an investment of money and it's an investment of time and all of that. But like the way it pays off in every other area is quite astounding. But also, of course it does. Like also it's like freaking obvious that it does, but also amazing at the same time, you know?
Yeah. Wow. And, you know, what you just said there is that it is an investment in finances. And, you know, I've got one client at the moment who's like, all I want to do is eat a cheeseburger. And I'm like, just remember how much you paid me not to eat a cheeseburger.
Yeah. And the package that I purchased with you, the fact that it included that support was worth every cent, because or else if I invested half that and didn't have that support, I probably wouldn't have gone through with it all the way like I have. And I haven't been perfect, but the beautiful thing is you've been so supportive when I haven't. You know,
Well,
you're like, okay.
those moments when you haven't are about something.
Yes. Yeah. So we learned something, right?
Yeah.
You get to grow through that. So if you're going to do it, like go the whole hog and do it properly. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And I want to touch back on that other point that you made, that it's not just the physical, it is really actually a whole experience, because what is happening internally for us actually energetically blocks our flow if it's not right. Like if it's not in alignment, if it's not healthy and well, we just don't have the energy and the capacity and the emotional availability to be able to move into the areas and the things that we want in our lives, to be able to be the person that we want to be, to show up in all of the spaces and places.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we just hold on to that. We're like, oh, I'm too tired to follow my dreams, so I'm just going to stay there, because if I don't have the tired and miserable excuse, then I've lost my reason to not have to do big, bold, brave things in my life. And so from like a life coaching perspective, like I write about motivational intelligence. So I get how this works. I get how, you know, sometimes we hold on to our limitations because they make us feel safe.
Yeah.
I'm too tired, I'm too sick, I'm too whatever, I can't. And so it's like, we'll then remove the excuse, and it takes courage, but it's extraordinarily rewarding.
Absolutely. And with that, I want to encourage everyone to go over and check out Carlie Maree's page. Go check out the things that she's done. She's created this fantastic system of soul modes so that women can actually recognize that, you know, all of the parts of themselves are beautiful in their own way, and they serve a role and they serve a purpose in order to help you move through this life in a beautifully guided way. So go check out what Carlie Maree talks about. It will change your life. It will change how you feel about yourself, and it has the opportunity to change your whole family experience in knowing what's going on, being able to work through all of the things and know that it's all for you, not necessarily happening to you.
Yeah.
So go check her out. Thank you for sharing with us today, Carlie. It has been beautiful talking with you in this space, and we will catch you next time. If you are watching this at home and you want to know more about it, send me a message. I'm happy to chat. All right. Bye, everyone.